It's a chilling cold case that dates back nearly 3 decades. 2 toddlers vanishing from the same Harlem park just months apart.
Christopher Dansby, 2 years old, disappeared on May 18, 1989. His mom had left him briefly at the park with his grandmother, who saw the child playing with a red ball.
He wouldn't never just went off with somebody, so they had to lure him with something.
Without you hear the sea.
Shane Walker, just a year old, vanished on August 10, 1989. The women lived in the same apartment building next to the park, 41 West 112th Street off Lenox Avenue.
It's like a nightmare. And every day you wake up and you're still in a nightmare.
It looked like rain too.
One disturbing connection between the 2 kidnapped children came early on in this case. Christopher, the first child to be snatched, was last seen playing with a 10-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy in this park just before he disappeared. Then Shane and his mother would be approached by the same 2 children 3 months later.
And these 2 little kids approached me.
What'd they say?
They said, hey, can we play with your son? I regret that I let him play with them kids. I regret that I take him to that park.
You found them with
another son of God. Look, it's my fault. I feel it's my fault.
It's not your fault.
You know what I feel like.
He was a nice little guy. He was just happy. Happy. Loved his mother, loved me.
He loved the water. He loved that pool. I couldn't get him out of that pool.
And I thought today had been okay. Today has been okay.
Horrible feeling to think your child was stolen and sold.
It is.
Today has been
Their uncle. I had to be strong for him. I had to get myself together for him. Sometimes you can go through like depression too, because it's hard having a missing child, because sometimes you just want to stay in the house. I want to stay in my house, in the bed, in the dark.
Because there's a depression, a sadness.
Yes, and a loss. I would tell him I love him. I love him. And I miss you. I miss not being a part of your life for so many years. Watching you grow up, go to school.
Find your way home.
That's all his toys.
His mother has battled breast cancer twice in the last decade. She has kept age progression photos in frames from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
That's my memories, When I found them, I'm gonna see, I always loved you.
Today has been okay. Today has been okay.
Thursday, May 18th, 1989, Manhattan, New York. Martin Luther King Playground, 113th Street and Lenox Avenue in Harlem, New York. Allison Dansby took her 2-year-old son, Christopher Milton Dansby, to the playground. They were joined there by relatives, including Christopher's maternal grandmother. The park was located near the apartment complex where they lived, Martin Luther King Tower. Christopher's nickname at the time was Choo Choo. He was 2 years old. He was walking and saying words like Mama, and even his brother's name. He loved to walk to the park, or sit on the benches outside. On this day, Christopher and Allison went into the park and went down the slide a few times, enjoying their day together. Usually the family would go to the park, and then afterwards they would go to the store located nearby. Allison Dansby left Christopher in the care of her mother at the park, gave Christopher a hug and a kiss, and left to go to the store. She told Christopher she'd be right back, and Christopher's last words to his mother were, "I love you, Mommy." 30 minutes passed, and Allison Dansby returned to the park. She started searching through the crowd of children running, looking for Christopher. She couldn't find him, so she asked her mother, "Where is he?" They all began searching, thinking he was right there. They told his mother that he was playing with a red ball, which was odd to Allison because Christopher didn't bring a red ball to the park, and the ball seemed to vanish with Christopher. Out of all the kids at the park, Christopher was the only child missing. Christopher's mother, grandmother, and aunt took all sides of the park, searching for Christopher, but nothing. There is no sign of Christopher even being at the park. Police arrived to the park and began canvassing the areas. Helicopters began flying overhead, searching for a 2-year-old little boy. At Martin Luther King Tower, there were 10 towers. Each tower had 14 floors, and each floor had multiple apartments, and police were searching for a 2-year-old little boy. Police searched 24 blocks, including Harlem, which is the lake nearby the park. It was searched by divers, looking for any sign that Christopher could have fallen in, but there was no sign. Allison brought some of Christopher's clothes down for dogs to smell to get Christopher's scent. The dogs picked up Christopher's scent leading from the playground to south on Lenox Avenue to 110th Street, and then the dogs lost his scent, leaving investigators to believe that Christopher was put in a car. At the time, Christopher's father lived in Florida. He wasn't involved in Christopher's life, but he went to New York to meet with police and tell them everything he knew. He was immediately cleared from having any involvement in Christopher's disappearance. Thursday, August 10th, 1989, Manhattan, New York, Martin Luther King Playground, 113th Street and Lenox Avenue in Harlem, New York. 19-month-old Shane Walker went to the park with his mother, Rosa Glover. Shane Walker was Rosa Glover's only child. She thought she was unable to have any children of her own, but that's when she found out she was pregnant with Shane. He was and is her only child. Rosa would braid Shane's hair back and said she wouldn't cut Shane's hair until he was 2 years old. She would never have the chance. Rosa Glover worked 5 days a week, and on her 2 days off, she would take Shane to the park. On this day, she took him to the store to buy him some chips to snack on while he was at the park. As soon as they got to the park, 2 little kids approached Rosa and Shane, a boy and a girl. The girl was 10 and the boy was 6. They told Rosa they wanted to play with Shane. At first, Rosa said no, but the kids were insistent, and Rosa eventually agreed. She told the kids he liked to go on the slide. Rosa turned to find a bench to sit on while she watched Shane play. A man sat down next to Rosa, and Rosa turned her head to look at the man, and when she looked back up, Shane was gone. Rosa immediately stood up and began searching, looking for any sign of Shane. 3 minutes later, Rosa saw the 2 children come out from across the park, through a fence. She questioned them, saying, quote, "What did you do with my son?" They said they left him at the park. Rosa began running around the park screaming Shane's name. People began to help her search, but they were unsuccessful. Shane wasn't there. Both these disappearances, Shane and Christopher's, happened on a Thursday at similar times, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. The NYPD became concerned with the similarities between the cases. As they did with Christopher, police began canvassing the area, searching for 19-month-old Shane Walker. The towers were searched again, interviews were done, dumpsters were searched, garbage chutes searched, but no sign of Shane. Buildings were demolished, searching for Shane after a tip was given that he might be buried beneath the building. The police turned Manhattan upside down, searching for this 19-month-old little boy, but nothing. This was the first time Rosa Glover let anyone play with her son. The kids were interviewed extensively due to suspicions that they were acting as decoys to help someone steal a child. The children's parents were identified and interviewed. Police found no evidence that the children or parents were hiding any information. The man who sat down next to Rosa was brought in and questioned. He checked out as well. There were no indications that he was involved in Shane's disappearance. Another weird similarity between Shane and Christopher's disappearance was that Christopher was seen playing with the same 2 children at the park right before he disappeared. But again, there was no evidence that the children or parents were hiding any information. There was a $30,000 reward for any information about the 2 children's disappearance. Police trucks drove up and down the city with speakers asking if anyone had any information on Shane or Christopher's disappearance to please come forward. After Shane disappeared, the NYPD was heightened. Thoughts of a lurking pedophile or serial killer was on everyone's mind, but soon the talks of a possible baby selling ring came into conversation. Everything the police searched into led to nothing. There was nothing, no sign of Christopher or Shane. Everything led to a dead end. Cops were in Rosa Glover's house 24/7, tapping her phone in hopes someone would call, but nothing came out of it. Police find it very likely that both Shane and Christopher are still alive. It is likely that Christopher and Shane were taken by the same individuals who are not able to have children of their own. Stories like Carlina White give both Allison Dansby and Rosa Glover the hope that both Christopher and Shane will come home alive. Christopher has a birthmark on his leg in the shape of a figure 8, and Shane has a scar under his chin from when he had fallen and a birthmark on his right shoulder in the shape of a liver, just like his mother. Rosa says when Shane comes home, she'll kiss him all over and tell him, "Let's go on a vacation and get away just to get to know one another again." Allison Dansby now has 3 grandchildren of her own who have never met their Uncle Christopher. If you have any information on the disappearance of Christopher or Shane, please contact police. Another child worth mentioning was 1-month-old Andre Terrence Bryant. On March 28, 1989, Andre's mother, Monique Rivera, had been taking Andre and her 2 older sons for a walk in their Brooklyn, New York neighborhood when she encountered 2 women driving a 1988 or 1989 Burgundy Pontiac Grand Am Sports Edition with tinted windows and possibly a Maryland license plate. One of the females was African American and approximately 30 years old and heavyset. She had a dark complexion and she wore sunglasses. The other woman was Hispanic or African American with long red hair and a light complexion. She wore a leather jacket and white pants and was approximately 22 years old at the time. Both women were about 5'7". Rivera may have known one of them from back when she was in middle school. The woman engaged Rivera in conversation about her children and even asked to hold Andre, and they convinced her to go shopping with them. Rivera bought herself an outfit from a store called Canadians, and the woman bought her a pair of pants and a shirt. Then they took her home. Rivera told her husband, Timothy Bryant, that the women used fraudulent credit card to make their purchases, and that she planned on going shopping with them again. In White Plains, New York, the following day, Timothy's sister, Patricia, agreed to babysit the children while Rivera shopped. On March 29th, Patricia went to Rivera's apartment on Madison Street to babysit. The 2 women did not pick up Rivera outside her apartment, but called her home from a payphone around the corner and asked her to come out and meet them. They insisted that she bring Andre on the shopping trip with them, so Rivera took the baby with her and left her other children with Patricia. She was last seen getting into a woman's vehicle outside her apartment at 2 p.m. On the morning of March 30th, Rivera's body was found in the woods by Eastchester Bay near City Island Road in the Bronx. She had been struck on the head and strangled, and had numerous defense wounds on her, such as bruises and broken fingernails, indicating that she fought against the attackers. There was no sign of Andre, Rivera's companions, or the vehicle. The police were able to identify the body a few days later after Timothy published an ad in the paper appealing for information on her whereabouts. A few days after Rivera's murder, a strange woman calling herself Joan Walker called her apartment. Joan asked to speak with Rivera, and when she was told she was dead, she said this was impossible because they had just gone shopping a few days earlier. The caller has never been identified, and authorities were never able to link anyone named Joan Walker to the case. Andre has never been heard from again, and the 2 women who accompanied him and his mother on the shopping trip have never been identified. She was 25 when she died and left behind her husband and 2 sons, besides Andre. Authorities believe Andre may have been sold into adoption ring. At the time of his disappearance, they thought his presumed abduction might be connected to the disappearances of Shane Walker and Christopher Dansby. All these cases, Shane, Christopher, and Andre, remain unsolved. It is unclear what happened to each child, but it is possible that they could still be alive. If you have any information on the disappearance of Andre Bryant, or his picture looks familiar, please notify police. These boys deserve to be home. They've been gone far too long.